You're listening to the Canned Air Podcast, your sidekick in the quest for knowledge, power, and entertainment. So strap yourselves in and prepare for victory!
Thunder, 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 ThunderCats! Ho! Sword of Omens, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Hi, this is Larry Kenney, the voice of Lion-O and ThunderCats and Bluegrass and Silverhawks, and the voice of Sonny the Coco Puff's bird and Count Chocula and so much more. Forget that, though. What I'm here to tell you is listen. Keep listening to the Canned Air Podcast. Do it!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canned Air, your tribute to comics and pop culture. I'm Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have voiceover royalty in the house today. I'm so excited to talk with this gentleman. You've heard his voice. If you've grown up in the past 20 to 30 years, you know the voice. Just to name a few, he was Bluegrass and Silverhawks, my favorite Silverhawk, and I think he's part of the reason why I ended up playing guitar. Lion-O, Jackalman, and many other characters in ThunderCats. And let's not forget those mascots, Count Chocula, Sonny the Cuckoo Bird from Coco Puffs, and the Taste the Rainbow voice from Skittles. Ladies and gentlemen, voiceover royalty, Larry Kenney. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. Nice to be here with you.
We are going to have some fun. We're just going to be talking with Larry about his career and all the awesomeness that has come from it. And then we have a little exercise planned at the end. But before we do all that, don't forget to find us on Twitter at CannedAirPod and on Instagram at Canned_Air. And if you like what we're doing, head to our website, CannedAirPodcast.com, where you can hit that Patreon link. And there's all kinds of different tiers to get you all kinds of bonus content for the show. Episode you've never heard, a show, well, more than one show that's dedicated to that platform. So check that out. Gentlemen, what am I forgetting?
If you're sitting around bored actually, we're moving it to a Thursday now, but hop on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube and check out Jack and I play some Jackbox games, hang out, interact with us, and maybe win something.
Changing it to Thursday. What was this? When was this big meeting?
That was a production meeting Jack and I had.
Okay.
The day after the last stream.
All right, fair enough. All right. Well, with that, let's just turn our attention over to Larry and
We're not gonna have any inter-office fights here, are we, guys?
Place your bets now, Larry.
All right. Okay.
All right, Larry. So first off, are you getting hit with all the freaking snow that's been hitting us here in Ohio?
Yeah. I'm in Connecticut, just outside of New York City, and we've got probably, it looks like about 18 inches.
Holy cow.
And it's going to snow all night again. It's coming down.
Magnified once it got to you guys.
Yeah. I guess so. They say it's coming down 2 inches or more an hour, and it's going to go all night. So who knows?
Wow. Well, that's kind of forcing quarantine at this point.
After about that's right. After about a foot, what's the difference anyway?
Yeah. Screwed is screwed, right?
That's right.
Well, let's just go right back to just your beginnings. Everywhere I look around online, I see, you first were getting into radio around the age of 15, but very curious what you were like as a child. What were you into? Were you into cartoons? What kind of music did you listen to?
I was into cartoons like everybody else back at this time. We're talking now in the 50s and 60s, because I was born in 1947. My God, that sounds like a long time ago. It was. So, but the cartoons I grew up with, of course, were the early Warner Brothers cartoons, and things like my favorite was Rocky and Bullwinkle. You guys familiar with Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I loved cartoons. And as a matter of fact, my mother tells me, God bless her, she's still with us. She's 94. She told me that pretty much from the time I could talk, I was imitating people on TV, including cartoon characters. So I guess that's how it started. I just would hear voices and try to repeat them. And then when I got into radio, I was 15 years old in Peoria, Illinois, about 2 weeks before my 16th birthday. And I got a job as a disc jockey there. And I would, do my radio show playing the records of the day, the Beatles and James Brown and stuff like that. But in between the records, I would do little comedy bits using the character voices and things like that. And I continued doing that in radio right on through when I went to Cleveland and then Chicago and then finally came to New York in '74. And I was doing the same thing here in radio when finally the opportunity to do some, then I began doing lots of radio and TV commercials. But it wasn't until '78, I guess, that I got a chance to do animation. And that was when I first started doing Count Chocula.
Oh, wow. That goes that far back. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 1978, I started doing that thing. Almost 40 years. And then about a year later, I started doing Coco Puffs. Been doing both of them for 40 years, I think, just about.
So you've been the voices as long as we've been watching. I was thinking for some reason it was in the mid-'80s, but yeah.
And of course, when I was young and watching cartoon shows, I was listening to the guys that I later worked with, some of them, on those cartoons, listening to Chuck McCann and people like that. Who was doing? He did Sonny the Coco Puffs bird for years and years when I was young, and up until '78 when I took over, '79 when I took it over from him because he moved to California.
I've got to go hear this original voice now. I gotta compare the two.
I was gonna say, did you kind of go off of how he did it, or did you do it on your own?
Well, actually, it's a good question. For both Count Chocula and Sonny. We weren't asked. When I say we, I'm talking about those of us who went in audition for the parts, both here in Los Angeles. We were told, we don't want a new voice for this. We want you to become as close to the original as you can, which made sense because it was already a very established voice. Both of them, both Count Chocula and Sonny, were very well established, so they didn't want to change it too much. So the only difference between me and Chuck McCann, I think, is his was a little more shrill, a little higher voiced. I mean, he was way up there. Hey, kids! I can't even go that high. And the same thing for Count Chocula. A guy named Jim Dukas was doing that voice for many, many years until I started doing that. And the same thing in that one. They said just whoever can come as close as they can to those voices will probably get the job. And I got both of them. So there.
All right.
So as far as ThunderCats, which again is kind of where I know you from, and I've been watching with my kids, and they're falling in love, a whole new generation. Can you tell me a little bit about what that process was like and where you drew Lion-O from?
Well, one day my agent in New York called me and said, we have an audition for you at a particular place at a particular time and money. That's how this business works, the voiceover business. You have an agent, and they'll call you, and let you know what auditions they have for you. And then a day later or so, they'll call you back and tell you if you got it or not, So this day, my agent said, you're going to, I forget where it was being held, in Manhattan, and you'll be auditioning for a new animated show called ThunderCats. And I was very excited because to that point, there hadn't been any cartoon shows recorded in New York. They had all been done in Los Angeles for years and years, And it wasn't until Comedy Central and Nickelodeon and those people started doing cartoons here. Everybody in New York was pretty excited. Hey, they're going to do a cartoon here.
Sure.
So anyway, I went to audition, and what happened was there would be like 50 guys and women in a big room when you get there, and you take a number, or you wait until your allotted time. They had all over the walls, they had drawings of the characters and a little bit about each of the character, and then they had a synopsis of the entire show, what it was all going to be about. It was brand new, nobody knew what it was going to be like. And then when it was your turn, you went into the studio, and they said, they told us that they would like us to pick one Thundercat and one mutant, the lead mutant's Mum Ra, to audition for. Mm-hmm. So I picked Lion-O because he was the Lord of the Thundercats, and I figured if I'm going to be a Thundercat, I might as well run the show,
There you go.
So I said, I'll audition. Yeah. And I picked Jackalman. I don't know why. I just I like the look of him, Mm-hmm. Now, you asked about coming up with the voices. Lion-O's voice is just basically my voice, It's just a little more dramatic. When I sit here and talk to you guys, I could say something like, "Sword of Omens, come to my hand, I command it. I'm Lion-O, I command it." But on TV, it comes out, "Sword of Omens, come to my hand, I, Lion-O, command it." So, but the point of that was they told us for the Thundercats themselves, we don't want, quote, cartoony voices. They should sound like pretty much like real people, with a little drama added. So, but they didn't want us to be cartoony, if you will.
Right.
Sure.
For the mutants, on the other hand, that's where you got to really have fun with the mutants, because every actor loves to play bad guys, whether you're doing a film or cartoons. You love to be a bad guy because you get to really just throw it out there.
Sure.
So for Lion-O, of course, I didn't have to come up with a voice; it was my voice. For Jackalman, I thought, let's see, looking at the illustration they had on the wall of what he was going to look like, and I thought a jackal. Let's see, a jackal is kind of like a wolf. They're very sneaky. They're very, from what I knew, I never personally knew a jackal, but I've heard things about them. And so I figured, and then in the back of my mind, I was kind of channeling a character on Rocky and Bullwinkle, Snidely Whiplash. And you guys remember seeing? Yeah, he was the consummate villain. He was he had the black cape and the top hat, and
the curly mustache.
I'll tie you to the railroad tracks. So I kind of put those two together, and I came up with Jackalman, who sounded like, we must get the Thundercats, yes. That's where those two voices came from.
And you did Snarf as well, too, among other characters, right?
I did not. That is that's a kind of a common misconception on the internet. I don't know why. But Bob McFadden was Snarf.
Oh, my apologies.
Oh, that's okay. I just realized after all these years why people confuse it. I later did a character called Uncle Osbert Snarf for a few episodes, I think.
Okay.
That's what it was. It was Snarf's uncle, Osbert, an older one. That may be where people get the idea that I was Snarf.
I think it's both of them, the way it's worded.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me, because Bob McFadden was so great at that. And Bob and I worked for years and years together because we not only did all of the Rankin Bass animated series, ThunderCats, Silverhawks, Tiger Sharks. Then we did a Saturday morning show called Comic Strip with 4 15-minute shows, and that had Karate Cat and all these. And then Bob McFadden also, for 30 years, was Frankenberry. He was the voice on Frankenberry's cereal. Frankenberry with strawberry-flavored marshmallows. Remember that? So Bob and I, for many years, we were in the studio together a lot, doing all those different things, And so I always want to give him the recognition he deserves. He was Snarf.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about, your first impressions of the Thundercats when it was first brought to you, like these alien cats. What would you think of them?
Oh gosh, I can't say that, but in the honesty that I clearly remember what I felt. I kind of vaguely remember. Okay, here's the synopsis. These are half people and half cats. Okay, it's a cartoon show, so you can believe it. You buy the premise, you buy the show.
Right.
So that was kind of a different thing. And then I thought it was kind of neat that when we started doing the next show, it was Silverhawks. They were half, as the show said, half real, half machine, or something like that. Yeah. And then, of course, the ultimate was Tiger Sharks, where we were half fish and half humans. And then it kind of ran its course. And of course, you're always wondering, well, which half is the,
How do they reproduce?
Don't mention that's a children's show.
I do have one quick question for you on ThunderCats, though. I was reading a story on the internet, and I'm sure you've talked about it 100 times, but I read somewhere an incident that occurred at Toys R Us with you and a couple kids in Lion-O.
Yeah, well, Lion-O wasn't there, but a couple of weeks before Christmas, it must have been 85 or 6, ThunderCats had been on the air for some time, and I was Christmas shopping at Toys R Us. Rest in peace, Toys R Us.
Yeah,
oh, yes.
Kidding.
And, isn't that something? I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
So I was Christmas shopping 2 weeks before Christmas, and as I walked in, I recalled that the last time I was there, which was a few months before, there was one row of Ninja Turtles toys on one side, and then He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. They had rows for all of those different shows or those characters. This time when I walked in, I look up and there's 4 rows of nothing but Thundercats. Three rows, I'm sorry, of nothing but Thundercats. And that's when I said to myself, that show's a hit. We got a big hit here. And as I'm walking by the Thundercats row, one of them, these 2 young boys, I imagine they were between 7 and 10. I could overhear them as they're looking at the action figures, the Thundercats action figures. One of them says, "I'm going to get Panthro. He's cool." The other one says, "Yeah, well, I'm going to get Tigre. He's really the best one." Well, I couldn't help myself. I said, "Guys, why don't you get Lion-O? After all, he's the guy who says Thundercats, ho!" And they looked at me like I was this weird old fart, that they should run from. And today, as a matter of fact, I would never even do something like that. You can't.
Right.
You can't walk up to a young kid and say, "Hey, want to hear my Lion-O impression?" So
call Dateline quick.
They looked at me exactly to catch a predator. And I realized that. So I just kind of went, okay, and I started to walk away. And as I did, I heard the older one whisper to the kid. He said, he wasn't whispering, but he said, "He didn't even sound like Lion-O." Which I loved. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But I was thinking to myself, if you only knew, kid, you'd crap your pants.
That's so funny. It's so fun. I always wonder in my lifetime, like, what big people, or like celebrities or people I admire that I've been right in the vicinity of and not ever known. And that person's actually had that experience. That's incredible. I need to go back a little bit. I wanted to ask you something about the serial characters. I'm a big toy collector. And as much as I collect, the action figures from the cartoons and stuff I love, I also collect like mascots, like spokes characters. I've got the whole Ronald McDonald land here. I've got Captain Crunch, Sugar Bear, and I do even have Sonny up on the shelf here. And I've always kind of, I don't know, thought it myself may be weird, but I know I'm not alone because these characters, just like any other character, have had a big presence in our lives, and they mean a lot. So I'm curious, do you ever? I mean, I know you get that about Lion-O. Like Lion-O has changed my life, et cetera, et cetera. Do you get anything like that ever from your portrayal of Count Chocula and Sonny?
Oh yes. As a matter of fact, when I first started doing Comic-Cons, I was ready for everybody coming up and saying, Lion-O, let's talk about Lion-O and Bluegrass and all those things. But immediately there were people maybe not just as many people, but there are lots and lots of people who came to see me because I do Count Chocula and or Sonny. And as a matter of fact, when I first started doing cons, I only took pictures of Lion-O, and Jackalman and the characters I did on those shows. Right. Bluegrass. But very soon I ordered some prints of Count Chocula and Sonny too, because there are lots of people who want those. Yeah, they really like those. That's an interesting thing that you said. I never thought about that before. But those characters, because they were so, as you put it very well, so integral to our lives, or right. At least we were subjected to them a lot. You couldn't miss them. We were watching cartoons. And, "Hey kids, no, let me talk to them," and it's back and forth. And then you had characters from the other lesser serials. But anyway, that was a good point. I like that because you spend a lot of time, and they were developed, those characters, to be animated friends, just like the cartoon characters were. So it was very insightful what you said. I'm going to steal that. I'll be using that a lot.
Steal away. It is yours. It is yours.
I'll give you total credit, of course.
It's just a funny thing because, like we love our shows from our childhood, Transformers, ThunderCats, etc. Yeah. But these shows, they're on for a few seasons. And then, nowadays you can find them about anywhere. But in the day, they were gone. Through all the years, through all the shows, through, as you grow up, those characters are always there. And I had heard rumor that you had the opportunity or almost became Lucky or had an audition for Lucky the Leprechaun.
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, the same advertising agency did the commercials for all the General Mills food cereals,
Sure.
And so I would work with the same guys, the same people from the ad agency, for Sonny and for Count Chocula. And one day, a guy named Deed Meyer, who was the producer of all those commercials, he would be the guy in the studio saying, use this take, use that take, And I went to either a Coco Puffs or a Count Chocula recording session one day, and I started walking in the booth, and Deed said, Larry, dear boy, he was British. He said, I want you to know that I had auditioned the week before for Lucky, the Leprechaun, because the gentleman who had been doing them for 100 years had reached an age, where he didn't, I think he wanted to retire. Sure. And so they're looking for a new Lucky the Leprechaun. So I auditioned for it with 500 other guys, I didn't even think anything about it because I'm doing Sonny, I'm doing Count, I'm not a greedy guy, Right. But I walked in and he says, Larry, dear boy, you'll be glad to know you won the audition as Lucky. And I said, right, cha-ching. And he said, but I poo-pooed that idea as my heart sank to my stomach. And I said, oh, really? Why? And he said, well, because I told them, meaning the people at General Mills, I told them he's already doing Sonny and the Count. If something happens to him, we'll be out all three mascots. And I'm thinking, what kind of fucking logic is that?
It's not. It's not. Oh my God. Anyway, he's fired now.
He's actually dead.
Oh,
God bless. But I'm thinking, you just cost me about maybe $50,000 a year, for the next 50 years. Thanks a lot. But again, I'm not a greedy guy.
You could have been a walking serial character trifecta.
Yeah.
How amazing. I mean, you still are. You really are. You really are.
I am the serial god.
Wouldn't you if you could do all those voices?
Better than being a serial killer, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not much.
That is perfect. Man. Unless you guys had any more questions about the characters, I wanted to backtrack a little bit.
I got one more for ThunderCats.
Go for it.
Having worked with all three of them, did you have a favorite out of all three versions of the ThunderCats?
Well, the original, of course, is still my favorite because, we did 160 episodes of it, 165, I think, episodes of it.
God, was there that many?
Yeah, 165 episodes. And I think we only did half as many Silverhawks. I'm not sure exactly the numbers, but I know we did the 100. You know what? I'm sorry. That is not correct. It was 130 episodes, 65 per season. That's what it was. Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of shows,
That's a lot of shows.
So I think I would probably have to say, the original. I'm more familiar with it. I mean, he did more scripts as him. I appeared more often as him. But I love doing Bluegrass and all the other stuff too. So people always ask me, what was your favorite? And it's hard to really say. I guess I'm more, quote, known, as being, if they're going to say anything, they'll say, here's the guy who did Lion-O, They're not going to list them all. So I would say, but your question actually was about the different renditions or reincarnations of the series. Yeah,
right.
I really liked the 2011 Warner Brothers series.
Yes,
I really thought that was a well done series, and I was really upset when they pulled it because it was, from what I understood, the ratings were very good on Cartoon Network, but the toy sales did not live up to their expectations. And unfortunately, I think in the business, and it is a business, we have to remember, they have to sell a lot of toys or it's not worth their while to sponsor the shows.
Right.
And while we can all go, oh man, that sucks. It's a business, we forget that. So I would have liked to have seen that the 2011 version continue. And I think a lot of the fans, I know a lot of the fans would have too. The latest one, which I don't know if it's still on the air or it's...
No, it was canceled too.
Yeah, well, now I can tell that. Now I can say that. It's not going to last.
No.
I was very surprised when, and for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about the most recent incarnation of
ThunderCats Roar.
It's called ThunderCats Roar. Thank you. That's right. And it's drawn entirely differently. It's drawn like Teen Titans Go, I think, which is the new thing these days.
Sure.
Very minimal artwork. It's all very scriggly and just anybody could do it as far as I'm concerned.
Is it the same kind of a show as like Teen Titans Go?
Well, I never did really watch Teen Titans Go. I was just on an episode a couple of months ago, but I just was I as Jaga? Yeah, for some reason I had Jaga on Teen Titans Go. I don't ask. I go in. I read the words. Take the money and thank you. I don't come in and say, now what is my what's my
motivation?
What's my motivation here? They say $2,400. You want to do it or not? So you do it. You have no input.
Yes, I will do that job. Oh, Lord.
Anytime you want.
I want to backtrack a little bit to something you were doing in the 70s, I believe, Bowling for Dollars. This is a game show I had never heard of until researching for you. And then I got on YouTube and started actually watching it. It was so much fun to watch. I love game shows, especially the older ones. The newer ones get too convoluted and they want to show everybody's backstories. I don't care about that stuff. Just get to the game and let's do it. It was so. You were the best host I saw on there. You have the perfect presence for a game show host. So one, I'm just curious about your experience on that show, and two, is that something the game show host thing? Is it something you enjoyed? Would you ever do another game show?
Well, probably I would. I don't. Well, not now. I wouldn't. Probably. I mean, the schedule would kill me. I'm 70 years old, right. But I enjoyed doing that show. For those people who don't know exactly what it was, you explained it very well. Though, it is exactly what it sounded like. It was people would bowl, at a bowling center, and if they would win money according to how many pins they knocked down, right?
Right.
Remember, this was back in 1976 to 79. I was on the one in New York. They had the same show in like 13 different cities with different hosts because they wanted everything to be local in each city. That was the whole idea of this show. You know how most game shows, even back then, and especially now, well, maybe more back then, the audience, the contestants had to pass these auditions. They were looking for certain things. They wanted very energetic people. They wanted obviously attractive people. You know what I'm saying? If you watch any of the old To Tell the Truth, well, not those, but like the Match Game, all those kinds of things, mm-hmm. It's always just pretty young girls and handsome young guys. You win, which is fine. But this was supposed to be a game show and turned out to be one for the average person because you didn't have to audition for it. As a matter of fact, you'd send in a postcard. And if it was picked out of the barrel at random, you were going to be on the show.
That's awesome.
So, so we had some rather unusual people that showed up, and we never saw them until the day of the taping. I mean, they sent a postcard to us. I don't even think they had to send a picture. Probably they shouldn't have had to. So we had, you have no idea. So. And I would interview the people between each. We taped 5 shows a day every Friday.
Holy cow!
Now, well, this was after I had been on the air for 4.5 hours on the radio in New York. I did a morning radio show, WHN, and then on Fridays the last half hour of my radio show, I'd be putting on TV makeup, and then they would have a car waiting for me to whisk me down to Madison Square Garden. And we taped the show at the Madison Square Garden Bowling Center, which is now a theater or something. So I would get there, and then the first thing I would do is they would start bringing out the guests, or the contestants on the first show, one at a time. And I would have maybe 5 minutes to sit with them individually. and ask them some questions. Are you married? Have kids? What do you do for a living? Any hobbies? Things, so that when they came out, we'd have something to talk about.
Sure.
But a lot of times they didn't tell me everything. And they would say things, like on the air. Like one guy, I'll never forget one guy. I didn't have a lot of time to talk with him, but I do remember that when I had made my own cue cards, off the set, so next to the camera, so I could say, "Oh, here, okay, let's welcome John Krasinski. He's from so da da da," and he comes out, and I'm looking at the card, and all I had written was married 3 years or something like that. So I said, "So John, I understand you're a married man. What's your wife do?" He said, "I don't know. I ain't seen the bitch in 5 years."
Good TV. Good TV.
Okay, John, you win. Give him all the money. Let's go home.
Oh my God. Bet Steve Harvey never had to deal with any of that stuff. See, you guys really put your work in. You had to work through the cream of the crop.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, what a gamble that would be. I enjoyed the show,
though. Yeah, I enjoy it. Oh, yeah, for the network. It was actually Channel 9 in New York, WOR, which now is My 9 TV all around the country.
Okay.
They were one of the first super stations. As a matter of fact, the reason they stopped, they canceled the show in New York, Bowling for Dollars, is that they had just made signed contracts with people to become this network called My 9 TV all around the country. Wow. Anyway, that's the story of that show. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. Met a lot of nice people. You know what? From that show, I got a taste of, quote, celebrity. I hate that word, but something that makes you recognizable to people on the street.
Sure.
That was my first real taste of that, because in radio, you don't, when I did radio for 25, 30 years, and people don't go, "Hey, there's that disc jockey,"
Right.
So it was new to me. But looking back on it, I always thought from that show, I got just enough of a taste of being a, quote, celebrity, because people would come up to me and say, "Hey, could I have your autograph?" Which is fine, but it wasn't kind of like a movie star thing. You know what I mean? Where, "Oh my God,"
Sure.
And so I never wanted that. I certainly didn't want that, But some funny things happened. I'll never forget one time we were in Times Square, my wife and I, and having lunch somewhere in some, luncheon restaurant. And these two little old ladies, I noticed the whole time we were eating, they were looking over. And I used to get that a lot. You'd be in a restaurant and people going, hey, and you see them looking over at you, pointing, stuff like that. But again, my, quote, notoriety from that show was not so big that, "Oh my God, look who it is." You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not being too clear, but it was just enough that it made me feel like somebody,
Sure.
But because of moments like this, these two little ladies, just as we got our food, started eating, they were finished, and they came walking down they stopped at our table, and I just had a fork up to about here, and this lady goes, and I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "You're Larry Kenney, ain't you?" I said, "Well, yes, I am. Hi, nice to meet you." And she said, "You know how I recognize you?" I said, "No, how?" And she said, "By your face." And they walked out.
And then you were like, "Oh,
that's how it works."
Yeah. Wow. I love that.
I mean, I guess she's not wrong, but I mean, of all the things to say.
She's not wrong. You can't argue with the lady. She recognized me by my face. But my point is that's the celebrity that I've had since that, and I like that amount. I have an ego like every other actor, or I wouldn't be in the business. You want to show off. We were doing it since I was kids. I was one of those kids that you always hear about. They were putting on shows in the basement and all this, and then they got into show business, and if they were lucky. So, but I love little things like that where. By your face. It also puts you in your place a little bit. It reminds you you're not Brad Pitt, okay? You're not Tom Hanks. They've seen you on television and they think it's cool, but they are not trying to find out your address so they can get to your house.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right. And think of all the times that Brad Pitt and George Clooney have been recognized by their face. Oh my God, that's I'm not going to forget that for some time. That's a funny thing to say to somebody. Of all the occupations your talents have taken you through, what have been some of your favorite, most enjoyable moments behind the microphone?
For 35 years, I worked on a radio show called Imus in the Morning. That became a television show, too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Yes.
Syndicated around the country.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to meet so many people of different walks of life and some very famous people. You know, I'd be sitting next to Walter Cronkite one day doing an impression of Walter Cronkite, you know.
Wow.
I'll never forget. He was on the first time Walter was on the show. He sat, they put him right next to me at the table. And he was on because he had written a new book about his life. And I just wanted to have him on because the very first words in his book were, you know, like Richard Nixon wrote a book, and the very first words in his book were, "I was born in the house my father built." Well, Walter Cronkite's book started off something like, "My father was a dentist, and therefore we never had to worry about, you know." So now we're on the show, and he's sitting next to me, and Imus says, and Walter by that point didn't hear too well, and Imus says, the first thing Imus says to him is, "How are your teeth?" And Walter looks at me and he says, "My feet." I said, no, Walter, he wants to know how your teeth are. And he said, "Oh, I thought he was asking me how are my feet." I didn't know why he didn't ask me how are my feet. Stupid moments like that, you know. I just loved it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll never forget him.
And Walter also, I'll never forget him for this, because he also, after the show, we were having a little crudités and things, and he said, "You know, I think yours is the best impression of me I've ever heard." Well, that's pretty high praise.
Wow.
You know? So,
yeah, you must have been shining your nails on your shirt after that. I know I would have been.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing, yeah. You know, younger people wonder, what the hell is he talking about? Shining his nails on his shirt.
Oh, I've said it so many. There you go. I've said it so many times on this show. They got to know by now.
Right.
As far as a dream role, is there any role or a franchise or a character, anything that you would like to play that you haven't gotten the opportunity?
You know, I've been asked that a lot of times, and I not to denigrate you for asking the same question, because it's a very good question. But the way I feel about it is, I mean, there are a lot of roles that I did try out for that, oh, gee, I missed that one. I'd like to have it, but I've been very successful. I mean, I've been in my business very successful, and I can't even imagine being more successful, because, like I said before, I never wanted that success in show business where you're just the enormous star. You know, I couldn't handle that. I know I couldn't handle that.
Sure.
And it would be too phony for me anyway. I don't like that red carpet stuff, you know. But I mean, I would have loved to have played any number of other roles, but I'm satisfied with the ones I did. I feel so lucky that you know, that I had this opportunity and everything. And I've made a nice living. I'm very comfortable. And so no, I'm just so grateful for, you know, I sound like being noble here, but I'm not. I like where I'm at. I like where I've been at the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Well, so do we.
Me.
We would have a funny sounding Lion-O if not.
Exactly.
You never know.
Pretty sure. Oh, another thing we need to talk about here, though, is coming up on Sunday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. There's an online convention, I believe known as Galaxycon, where you're going to be doing a video chat with fans. Can you tell us a little more about this?
Not really, beyond what you just told them, the dates and everything, because I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a thing like this, except the fans ask the questions. But I think it's what they're doing is trying to make up a little bit for the lack of Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
Because of the COVID thing. And so I think that's what it's going to be. It's kind of be I think there are going to be lots of other voice actors on it. I'm assuming so.
That's what we've heard.
But I don't really. Yeah, I think so. But I can't tell you any more than that, because I didn't really discuss it with them. I just said, sure, I'd love to be a part of it, you know. But aren't one of you guys is involved in that too, aren't you? On doing the Galaxycon thing? No, my mistake.
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge, unless Jack's doing something behind our back. Made him sweat a little bit. Well, that's cool, though. We'll have to put a link, though, in the description for this episode just to help direct people over that way, because I'm sure there's going to be some fans that are going to want to get the chance to speak with you. And this has been fantastic, an honor for us to speak with you. But before we wrap up here, I was wondering if we could do a quick little thing here. I sent you over a PDF with some lines here that I'm going to set up for the listeners as we go through. But just wondered if you wouldn't mind reading some famous lines off by some of your famous characters.
Sure, of course I will.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited for this.
Okay, so the first one I have is Bane quote as read by Count Chocula. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Oh, you think darkness is your ally, but you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then, it was nothing to me, but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
That works so much better than Bane did.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very
better.
much. Thank you.
Move over, Tom Hardy. All right. Wow. Blew my mind on that.
We have Tommy DeVito from Goodfellas as read by Sonny the Cuckoo Bird, Joe Pesci, right?
Yes.
But I'm doing it as Sonny. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me understand this, because, maybe it's me. I'm a little fucked up, maybe, but I'm funny I'm funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Oh my God. Okay, now I've got to set up this last one for the listeners because this one's a little obscure. There was a video on YouTube about 10, 11 years ago where it was simply just a gentleman out in his backyard seeing two rainbows in the sky. It was known as the double rainbow video. And just this guy was just going crazy. Oh, it's a double rainbow. And I thought, how cool it would be if you read his dialogue, at least a little bit of it there, in the voice that you do for the Skittles commercial that's Taste the Rainbow.
Feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow. Okay, I got it now. Ready? Wow, that's a full rainbow all the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God, it's a double rainbow all the way. Wow, that's so intense. Oh my God, it's full on double rainbow all the way across the sky.
Oh, boy.
That was
I'm hurting. Thank you.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much.
Have you got the address to send the check to?
Oh, yeah. Randy?
Yeah, Randy will take care of that. He's our billing.
Hey guys, it's been a lot of fun.
No, yeah, no, thank you. The
Thank
pleasure
you.
is all ours. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, guys. And good luck to all of you, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, everyone, and that was our conversation with Larry Kenney. My God, reading those lines as those characters about put me on the floor. I might have to go change my pants after that. That was so funny. You think he got the double rainbow thing? Do you think he's heard of that or seen it? He's probably just like, whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, he might not, because I think that's more of a younger thing with
What about you guys? You knew what I was talking about?
Oh, I knew exactly.
yeah.
Who you're
Okay,
talking about,
perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. And again, to our listeners, the online convention, Galaxycon, which is happening Sunday, February 14th, the opportunity to voice chat with Mr. Larry Kenney. The power is yours. Oh, that's a wrong cartoon, though, isn't it? All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode. So, Jack, what do we have on the website?
Go to cannedairpodcast.com where you can see show highlights, guest info, listen to the show, follow us on all our social media, become a patron, buy some merch, see some of our YouTube videos, and if you'd like to be a guest and promote your work, send us email on our contacts page.
You can promote our work, too. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
We won't stop you. And you can find us on
Don't
Twitter.
promote it to our page, though. Hey, I know this great Candace podcast. Canned you guys should listen to it.
It's like, yeah, that's us. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
You can find us on Twitter at CannedAirPod and on Instagram at Can_Air. And if you want to show your support, head over, either there on the website, there's the Patreon link, or you can just find us on Patreon. 6 tiers of goodness, ladies and gentlemen. all kinds of stuff coming down the pike. There's already close to 40 episodes of the Canned Air Patreon pod, getting ready to put the second episode of the Comic Vault up there. What else are we putting? The radio theater stuff, unreleased episodes, the episode where an interview like this went horribly wrong.
And I wasn't involved in it.
No, but you're going to be there to hear it and comment on it.
Randy's fault.
He'll be commenting on it. That's what I love about it. I've only heard it maybe twice since it happened. What 2017? Jack's heard it
Something like that.
only that time, and Randy's never heard it. So 3 different layers of listening enjoyment. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
3 layers of cringe.
There it is. There it is. But anyway, lots of good stuff on there and merchandise exclusive to Patreon. And what else, gentlemen?
Just a big shout out to Larry Kenney for spending some time with us tonight and being such a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just thank you. That was amazing.
It truly was. And I think I will never look at Bane the same again.
No.
Right?
Any of those characters the same.
Right?
In all those movies, too, because they totally rewrote it.
Yeah.
I thought Sonny the cuckoo bird would be perfect for Joe Pesci's Goodfellas.
Oh,
that was
that was
perfect.
amazing. It was amazing.
It's a good casting done well. All right, perfect. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. So until next time, I'm Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and be excellent to each other.
Oh, a dog. Hi, puppy. Nice puppy. Oh, no.
Don't run. It'll only make things worse.
Mutt.
Remember, you never want to approach a stray dog, especially one that's foaming at the mouth. Get away from the animal as quickly as you can and tell a grown-up.
Hey.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
This has been a Canned Air production.